Dennis Kay here. I first met Anne Bland on the second broadcast that Gravity FM ever did. At the time, we were only allowed to broadcast for 2 times a year, each time for 4 weeks. And Anne joined Gravity as a volunteer, or came in the early days of that broadcast, and offered to help me on my show by answering the phones. Now, to be quite honest, Anne made that show for me. She actually organised it so well. My show has never been so well organised as when Anne actually helped. She came on board, she took the phones, brought messages through. I tried to get her on air, but she was very, very reluctant at first. But we always had a chuckle. We had guests in every day, which Anne organised, and fantastic administration skills she had. And she developed a particular friendship with someone who was on my radio programme every day, the comedian Bernard Manning. Now, Bernard used to come onto the radio every day, and we used to ring him, and he used to give us a horse racing tip and have a bit of banter on the radio. Well, Anne took to Bernard very, very much indeed. They were both from Lancashire, and they'd be chatting about the area and recounting sort of memories of Manchester and all around the area. And they were having a good conflab before even Bernard was put through on the air to me on the radio. And it always made me chuckle because they got on so well. And Anne's career in Gravity FM blossomed. She became a broadcaster. She got involved in organising things. And she was just a natural, an absolute natural. And she cared. She cared about everybody. She was great to all members on the station. If you had a personal problem or you wanted to talk, Anne always found the time. She was absolutely brilliant like that. And her commitment to community was fantastic. She loved the area. She loved the people and various groups around the area. And once she met people, everyone took to her. She was infectious, to be quite honest. Once Anne had spoken to you, you always wanted to talk. And they found this in the groups as well. And she became allied to 1 or 2 local organisations, which, well, they just all took to her so, so nicely. She was absolutely fantastic as a community person. And on the radio, we will definitely miss her. Anne also was a good friend. And I say a friend because a few years ago, we lost another presenter on the station, Carol Shanahan, known as Carol James. Well, Carol had been a friend of mine for probably the best part of 30 years. And Anne got to know Carol through the radio, and they became great friends. Well, unfortunately, Carol got very ill, and it got to the point where Anne was caring for Carol a lot of the time. She was a best friend to Carol. And towards the end of Carol's days, Anne and I daily went to Grantham Hospital to comfort and to visit Carol. And Anne was there for hours on end, showing how much she cared. And sadly, Carol passed away, and Anne was there to help Carol's daughter, Louise, and help to get things organised for everything that was going on. Anne was a true friend to Carol. She's been a true friend to me. I lost my wife and she comforted me and gave me kind support. And she's been a true friend to many people in Grantham. We'll miss our friend. We'll miss Anne Bland. But people still have the legacy in Grantham. There are many organisations that are so much better off having known Anne Bland.
Hi, I'm Brian Hanbury from on the outreach work of Harrowby Lane Methodist Church and the coordinator for Grantham Food Bank. I met Anne about 3 years ago when I was trying to bring a number of projects to Grantham to support those families starting to struggle in our areas, and she was so supportive straight from day one. She was trying to arrange to collect food for us, and she was trying to help us change the perception of how people saw themselves when they were in a hard time. I got an understanding that she'd had a few hard times in her life as well, and she just there were people that supported her, and she wanted to find a way of paying that forward and helping others. It was a privilege coming across her.
I'm with Jeff and Dee Copus Reed, and they knew Anne as soon as they came to Grantham in 1996. Jeff, can you remember your first memories?
Well, Lady Anne, the first memories of Lady Anne was from Ladies What Lunch. I remember tuning in, looking through the radio stations and thinking, there's not many radio stations here. There was like 5 or 6, and I'm thinking to myself, there's loads in London. But I remember finding these two ladies chatting, and they were having such a giggle. And I ended up sticking with that radio station, and then found out that it was only on for 4 weeks. And so I had a radio station that just went for the rest of the week, or for the rest of the year, until they were back on.
And Anne, obviously, a very, very loved person at Gravity FM. She put a lot of effort into the radio, as she did other things. Both you and your wife, Dee, have been involved with the Wheelie Cool disabled group, and Anne actually did a lot for them on the radio, but not only the radio, she actually got involved with the group, didn't she?
Yeah, Anne was secretary for Wheelie Cool. She also helped with fundraising, planning summer trips, Christmas shopping trips into town, and she was a support for everyone that was there, and she always made everybody laugh, always.
Her sense of humour was phenomenal, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, very funny lady. Yeah.
And whenever she got involved with things, I'm sure you'll agree, she put her everything into it, didn't she?
Yeah, heart and soul. If she believed in it, she gave 100%.
Now, what about as a neighbour? Because you don't live too far from where Anne lived. She wasn't just an acquaintance. She became your best friend, didn't she?
Yeah, Anne and I were best friends for about 4 years. And she was fantastic. You couldn't wish for anyone better. Right,
and also she's very much encouraging to people who were not so fortunate as herself, wasn't she?
Yeah, encouraging and supporting as well. Yeah. Yeah,
she had a great sort of personality for things, you know, that mattered. She cared about a lot of causes, especially Wheelie Cool. I mean, as you say, she did a lot for it, and when she turned up, she made people feel really good, didn't she?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, some of the stuff she used to come into the Wheelie Cool Club with, stuff that was a bit too raunchy for radio, but she'd save it for us lot.
Yeah.
And we'd be giggling away. They'd have them in tears around the table.
Yeah.
Absolute tears.
Literally
around
crying
the table
with laughter.
With some of the stuff she used to come out with. And that daft laugh of hers. Yeah, it's one of the things that really endeared you to the lady. And she was a lady.
You called her Lady Anne. Is there a story behind that?
Oh, yeah. Her children, grandchildren and her children all saved up and bought her a ladyship. She was Lady Anne of Kincaid.
Yeah, and they bought it for her as a surprise for her 50th birthday.
Yeah.
And they did a surprise party for her.
Yeah.
And it was my job to take Anne into town all day so that they could set up the party without her knowing.
Meanwhile, myself and Nigel, we were busy making furniture for the event. We made a huge metal table, and of course him spending so much time over at my place, Anne was getting quite peeved, and then she got to the stage where he doesn't care about me, he's not thinking about me, he said nothing about my birthday, and I heard all this through Nigel, and then of course my wife, co-conspirator, kept her busy in town.
Yeah.
And she'd keep phoning Nigel to say, you know, can we bring her home yet? And we're like, no, not yet. We're still putting stuff out. We're still sorting things out. We managed to get most of her family down, all the grandkids. and her children, and we sat out in the back garden, deathly silent, waiting for them to come back.
Yeah. And I took her clothes shopping, and she bought some nice outfits. And then after the big shock and surprise when she walked in the door, she had new clothes to go upstairs and change into. It was a brilliant day.
It was fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
And she always vowed that she would get me back. I was in big trouble for not telling her.
Yeah.
How lovely. I mean, there's so many fantastic memories of Anne. Everybody who's met Anne, she gave a lasting impression, didn't she?
Yeah, definitely.
You only had to be in her company 5 minutes and you were comfortable and you knew that you were talking to someone who was truly genuine.
Well, she's going to be sadly missed by a lot of people, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time out to talk to me about Anne. I know it's painful for you at this moment in time, but there's a lot of happy memories as well.
Oh, we have many, many happy memories of Anne. Many.
Yeah, we've got 16 years of happy memories.
Yeah.
Jeff and Dee Copers-Reid, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.